All right, folks, here we are for another episode of Off the Grid. Hey, my next guest is an amazing music producer and digital art creator. He is the ultimate digging master, in my opinion, and based out of Indiana. Wanted to welcome music producer Kid Forever. Hey, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
Yeah, how's it going out there?
Good, man. It's not too cold. The ice is gone. Doing
Yeah.
well. Just hermitizing as usual.
You guys anticipated to get any colder from this point on, or is it downhill from here?
It's been pretty mild, except for that big one that like rolled through. Like it seems like the whole north of the country. So yeah, I mean it's typical for out here. We're not like Detroit or Milwaukee or Chicago, but we're right on that like cold border of the north. So yeah, sometimes it'll just stay in the 50s, but like -5 is no big deal. So yeah, I'm used to it.
All right, man. Well, hey, let's get into it, man. Can we start with just a quick introduction of yourself? Tell us where you were born, where exactly in Indiana you call home, and just tell us how long you've been making music.
Yeah, man. I was born in Virginia. I lived there a month. My mom's from the South, so I was born there, and my dad's from Indy. So he was looking for work here, so my mom was down there. So like, basically a Hoosier. Grew up by the racetrack, like straight from Indianapolis. Like went to the high school by the racetrack, so kind of got all that stuff in my blood. I've been making music since like my whole life, basically. Like both my parents are really involved in like church, so they like church music was always around me, and my dad was like a violinist, so like classical music and like church harmony shit was always like kind of around me. And then yeah, like playing the piano, all that kind of stuff. And then I grew up in like the golden era, so
Yeah.
I mean, I started like as soon as like that moment when everybody realizes like, oh, these are samples. Like as soon as I heard that, like I was already, I don't know, 11 or 12, just starting to play around with stuff. My dad was into computers early, so there was like
Nice.
really basic audio editing. So yeah, like decades now. I don't even know, but
Nice.
yeah, it's always just a love thing. I always just do. It's just always what I'm doing, listening to music and fucking with it. And yeah, I love it.
Yeah, so hey, that's awesome, man. Just church music while you were growing up. And what about for you? Were there any particular musicians that really influenced you right at the beginning? It doesn't even have to be rap, but just who kind of sticks out in your mind?
I mean, the stuff that I put on repeat the earliest is back in the tape days, and I had a Jackson 5 tape when I was like 8 or 9. I fucking played that thing I loved it, man. So like, yeah, like the early. Yeah, Indy's it's not like Detroit, but there's a huge Black awesome community here. So like gospel music and R&B and all that stuff's just part of the city. So I feel really fortunate like having that. And then like, so I think that Stevie Wonder, and then when I was an early teen, like Bjork was like huge for me.
Nice.
I was like, I was artsy, and it was just like nice to like, in the Midwest, there's not a lot of, so I'd say those three: Michael Jackson, Stevie Wonder, Bjork. And then like right after that, it was like I feel like MC Light and Biz Markie, kind of that like mid late 80s kind of, and that's when I was just like, oh, I'm hooked. Like it was just so big, and like and then it was just on, and then it was just like Public Enemy, all that shit. So yeah, like kind of like the first early, I don't know, like 86 on or whatever. It was kind of like when I got, I was a little kid then, but like the late 80s was when I really got turned on to like the boom bap, the big drums, breakdancing, all that shit. So,
hey, you mentioned Jackson 5 too. Are they from Indiana, or was the dad from Indiana?
Yeah, they're from Gary, Indiana, man. They had a Gary, Indiana.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, it was different when they were there, but
right.
It's crazy now.
Yeah. Are you in Indianapolis? Where exactly are you at?
Yeah, I'm in Indy right now. I was out in Portland for the last decade. I'm moving back out there at the end of this year. I came back for personal reasons, my family. COVID happened to hit, so I'm glad to be back. But
good.
But the record scene and other things in Portland are just like my heart like misses it, and I love the city. So yeah.
Oh, it's a fantastic place, man. And you mentioned Biz Markie, MC Light. Any other particular rap albums when you got interested, when you got introduced to that? Did any albums stick out? Any of those tapes that you just busted them on? Playing them over and over.
Yeah, I mean, Public. I can't like sometimes look back and I was like in 5th grade, a white boy in Indiana listening to like Public Enemy. Like
That's awesome.
I really appreciate. I mean, a lot of people say this, but just like I love the like the African Pride era so much because it taught me so much, like X Clan and all that stuff, and like it just was like I didn't really know it. You're just listening because you like the sound, and then you're like learning this stuff and like kind of
Right.
like learning about the world. But yeah, like the first 3 or 4 Public Enemy albums, the what is it, the Terror Squad? I always get them mixed up with the
Yep.
Fat Joes, but like Hank Shockley, all those people, like that wall of sound of just like samples coming together. Yeah, like I think Public Enemy and like in the hip hop is like that's the most influential to me because I just love like just the noise and like it was like
Yeah.
punk rock, hip hop. That I just love that. I like I'm always saying like that it's still too raw for people. Like it's still too much. Like it's you put that on and kids are like,
Timeless.
whoa, what is
Right.
so, yeah, I love Chuck D, love Flavor Flav, love
Yeah.
you know the Terminator X, like all those
Yeah.
dudes. So
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
that's from
that's good stuff,
yeah,
man. Yeah,
yeah.
91 was not when I got introduced to Public Enemy, but yeah, all great albums, man. And so as you know furthered your journey into hip hop and just rap, did you try rapping first, or was it just straight? I want to be a
Yeah, I mean,
producer.
yeah. Luckily, I kind of like like everyone outside of New York has a different experience of the culture because it's not quite as like embedded into it. But I was fortunate enough to have a crew, several crews growing up where it was like 8 of us getting together. A couple people made beats as good as we could with what we had. A lot of people just rapping. So yeah, definitely like rapping, but never, never like as a full thing. I was a
Yep.
skater too, and it was kind of like the music, DJing is what really caught me into it.
Okay.
Top Speed from Indy. I don't know if you've heard him, but he's kind of breaks master that's known in the country, and he's from here. And I met him when I was like 13, and so like the music side and the history and like the time traveling of the music side and sampling, like that just was like this is my lane. I love breaking. I'm just not very
Nice.
physically put together. Um, like yeah, the music is really. I wrote graffiti for a long. I was pretty heavy in graffiti, so
Yeah.
those two elements, I was. I feel like I can rap better than the average dude, but like I don't know. I like to honor the elements, and it's like the one I
Yeah.
want to focus on is the digging and like the record. So like,
Yeah.
that is too long an answer, but
No, it's perfect, man. And so, what was that moment that said, it kind of told you, like, hey, I'm going to try producing beats? Was there a specific moment in your head that you can recall where you're like, hey, I'm just
kind
going
of. I mean,
to.
literally, like a kid I knew was like a computer nerd, so we were like hooking up that Mattel drum machine to a computer.
Yeah.
And then right after that, it was like my dad had some early program. A little after that, I used Sony Acid, but it was basically just like multi-track. So I would just dump my dad's record player, like RCA jacks, in the computer back then. I would just, go in his room and hook the record player up. And like, I don't know, that was like 11 or 12. And just,
Damn.
I don't know. I was lucky enough to meet people that like I figured it out and I met people that kind of knew. And then it was just
Yep.
like, and the music was more, it was, you could understand the samples. Like it wasn't heavy micro chopping yet. And so you could kind of tell it was like in between DJing and micro chopping. So you could kind of tell it's like, oh, this is music that's been fucked with. Yeah. So I was just doing it and then you met people. And then it kind of got into the keyboard era. And so that was kind of weird. And like, so like people had motifs and stuff like later in high school. But like, yeah, that was kind of like, I just kind of always did it.
Yeah.
And Indiana's not really connected to the world really. So it's like, it's kind of just like it's just like what I do. Like, I don't like, there never was really a goal of like I struggle to even put stuff out. Like there's no like major connections here. So it's almost like a spiritual practice.
Yeah.
Like, it's just what I do all the time. So
Yeah. And how soon after did you start digging for music? Like, when did you figure out, like, hey, I got to start looking for samples? And so.
like literally 12, like 11,
Oh,
12,
man,
13.
that's
Yeah.
so wild, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I don't know.
how
I'm trying to think of what Top Speed gave me a Graham Central Station break, and that was the first time somebody like gave me the knowledge of like, hey, there's specific things that the old dudes use.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a Graham Central Station break, and then yeah, I think it was just easier. I'm trying to think of a good example of a song, but it was just kind of more rap. It was just like how the old days were, like rapping on the breaks live. It was just they were using digital samplers. So, but yeah, pretty early on, and then I kind of been fortunate because I was kind of like early in computers because of my dad, and so as the software was starting to get like, it was way before people were like really like, I'm sure Pro Tools not, but it was like early like the people producing the music were still using MPCs and the SPs and
Yeah.
all that stuff. But I was kind of able to like play with it on the computer with like WAV files and like
Yeah.
I learned chopping kind of through visual first before I could even afford or play with any machines or knew anybody that had machines. We were kind of when we were making beats, we had 4-track tape machines, and we're just like the little ones, and just like laying down the bass line, laying, you know, one rap track, one drum, one bass,
Yeah.
one like sample, you know. So
Hey, I still love how you dig, man. So nowadays it's so easy to, find stuff online, and everybody's trying to post obscure stuff online, so it's not hard to find. But I love how you're still true to the art of digging. It's so fun. Like you just can't, for me at least, man. My joy in finding just a crazy sample or just
yeah,
a classic rap gem. It's fun, man. Just the hunt in itself, man.
yeah. Just last night I was hanging out with a couple of my friends, and
Uh,
my friend Amy was playing records, and I'm like, that's not annoying, but I'll be like, oh, what was that? What is that? And I'm like, oh, it was like Slim Shady. My name is
right,
chords,
right.
you know. And it's some old record I heard, and I was like, oh shit. So yeah, I love that. It's time traveling. It's like I love music out of context. You know, I'm not against like listening to modern music, but I love it out of context and like this looks weird. What is this? And then you find you're like this is the best drug. Like just finding something cool.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
and so I don't want to blow up your spots, but where you typically going these days to find records and sampling? Are you just
everywhere. Yeah,
looking
there's
on?
no like real spots, but like I'll go
Yeah.
to the ones I wish I went to more were estate sales, but they're just they can be kind of crazy.
Oh,
But like Goodwills, peddlers
yep,
markets, antique malls. We don't really have
yeah,
swap meets out here, but we have like,
yeah.
kind of like, we have a lot of like, yeah, they're like kind of antique malls, but it's just kind of like people just finding stuff and selling it. So there's some of
Yeah.
those. Any thrift stores. We have good record stores here. So like Luna Music and Indie. Like anytime you come to Indie, come to Luna. It's a great world class shop.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of other good. You know, we got Karma Records here, which is kind of the head shop. But that
Okay.
was kind of like the rap shop. So like, I love digging in their bargain bins because you'll find like I don't know like I found like a 3-6 Mafia record, you know, a DJ copy
Nice.
for like $2, and it's just fun to like find these old rap
Yeah.
records.
Oh man, and if I have something already in my collection, and if I find something at the Goodwill, just like a classic album for like a buck or two, I just have to rescue it, right? Like I can't leave it there, man. I'll just still pick it
No,
up
no,
anyway.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so that's hilarious. And my wife, and she probably gets tired of me asking every time like we drive past the Goodwill. I want to go and like dig and look through the
Yeah,
music
yeah,
selection. So yeah,
yeah,
hey,
yeah.
so I love that you do that still, man.
Yeah, it's cool in the Midwest too. I mean, there's definitely a lot of diggers here, but it's not quite as heavy. Like even in the vintage game, you know, it's not quite as picked over.
Sure.
And there's also a weird angle where like, you know, the music scene wasn't quite as hip here, so you don't have like it's kind of more weird. Like there's a ton of weird like Christian music, like just weird like cheesy stuff, like just weird like yeah, I don't know, just like corny country, like Christian music and country music. I don't have anything against them, but there's a lot of just like corny stuff down there. So like almost having to learn to work with like less cool samples and like play
Yeah.
with just the audio is really fun. And then
Yeah.
as you get older and learn like there's other cities with other shops, and you just get hipper to it, then you can uh yeah, you're like, oh cool, like there's actually records that are like fucking really good that you can
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
Like
Hey man, and I admire your collection right behind you. Is that stuff gonna stay in Indianapolis, or is it coming with you to Portland?
I've moved it back and forth a
Oh,
couple times.
dang.
Yeah.
That's
And this is
amazing,
like
man.
I'm always like I always buy so much like $2, $3 stuff that like I'm constantly recycling. Like I'll just end up with like hundreds of records I don't want, and then I'll just like pass those on and like resell them or whatever, trade them. And
Yeah.
so yeah, it's just kind of always flowing. And yeah, I love it. It's so I've like I've got like crazy ADHD brain or whatever, not officially, but like this is just like it's like constant entertainment. I just
Yeah.
love being in my studio and like hanging out, smoking a little bit and just like having people over fucking with shit, and it's
Yeah.
just like super fun.
Well, hey man, so humble beginning in terms of making music, using your parents' equipment and just stuff that you had around the house. What are you using now to make music?
A ton of shit. I love Ableton. It's just kind of like
Mhm.
where I've landed as far as like fun, and it's like a chemistry set. And then I've got a bunch of like um just other stuff. Like I'm just looking around, like I'm just into anything that's kind of like lo-fi recording. So I have um like one thing I have that kind of people know about, I think that's what Kid Koala was talking about it, but it's like a card master recording thing, like just
Oh wow.
like weird like audio, like stuff from Japan that like record, like anything that's kind of like tape or recording that I can like output to and kind of get a sound. That's what I'm trying to do more. Of course, just like staying in the box is always tempting. And I got
Yeah.
like my dad's, this is a crazy recent story, but my dad was like, hey, my church is like tearing down this wall and there's like a keyboard under the drywall. Do you want it? And like
Oh what?
it was a digital
Oh, that's
Rolling
awesome.
Roads, like a rare Rolling Roads from the 90s.
That's
It's like a Notre
awesome.
Dame stick. Yeah, so I was like, yeah, I'll take that. So just like over the years accumulating like VCRs and like I'm just trying to
Yeah.
look around tape decks and shit like that and like video games, and it's just kind of like an audio hub
Yeah.
of sounds that I can just like nerd out about. And then I mean usually it just is like record player into a recording program and then into Ableton, and I mean it's kind of like I just kind of do that process, but then I have all these little
Hey,
play
hey, you brought up VHSs. So do you actually sample from old VHSs too?
yeah, I got
Oh,
a ton
dude,
of
that's
that.
awesome. Oh,
Yeah,
holy
yeah.
cow, man.
Yeah, for our stuff, I'll tell you later. But it's like, yeah, I just like import a lot of that. I mean, that's kind of been new for me. Is like I've always had like a few hundred tapes, but like I've started to try to import a little more, get lots, and just like
Dude.
because I like to play. I do digital video editing of found stuff, but I'd like to kind of maybe get like some sort of like old analog way of chopping up stuff from
Yeah.
tapes because it looks cool.
Oh
But
man.
yeah, I've got like yeah, it's a lot of Japanese import stuff to be
Yeah.
honest, but just yeah,
So
random old animes and
yeah, are you watching it on TV first to kind of determine the sample that you want to pull? Oh,
yeah, I'll
so
throw
that's
it
a
in
that's
like
a lot of
because I do
time.
yeah. So it's like so what's awesome is because I do graphic design for a living, I
Okay.
can just throw on records or tapes or anything and just listen to it kind of like
Yeah.
like not in the background, but like I'm not paying, and I'll be like, oh fuck, and then I can just stop for 5 minutes, take a Coke
Oh.
break and drink a Coke, and so I'm pretty fortunate.
Yeah. Are you? So is that the tapes that you're buying from Japan? Are they quite expensive, or just are you? Dope.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably secret. Well, it's not secret, but it's like you can just look for like stuff that's common to them.
Yep.
Like it's like super mainstream anime to them that they have lots of copies of. Over here, we don't have it, so like you can get lots for fairly cheap. I guess the game is like you can find sites that'll ship by boat instead of airplane, and that cuts the price in a third.
Yeah.
So if you're
Oh
not
man.
like needing something in like 3 months and you just kind of like I'll look for a few months, do a little bundle, ship it. It just pops up one day and I'm like, cool, new material. So like that's kind of the cool game. And then I'm trying to find that for like other countries,
Okay.
like parts of Europe. I'd love that for Nigeria. I'd love to get stuff
Oh
from
God,
Nigeria.
yeah, I knew a guy that was doing it in Russia, right? So he was getting old Russian samples and just music. That was pretty cool. So that's
Oh yeah.
awesome. I love how you're doing it, and you're right. We'll talk about what we're doing a little bit later. But the stuff that you've been pumping out and sending over to me is amazing, man. Holy
Yeah.
cow! This is a question I always ask everybody. So I'm curious, man. How did you get the name Kid Forever? Can you tell me the story behind that name?
Yeah, that it's more of a recent name because I kind of, like I said, I kind of was just like doing it as a lifestyle. I used to paint Abel when I was a writer, and then
Right.
like Abel Rock just kind of came out of that for years. And then it's kind of like early Portland. I was like, I really want to like, I was really inspired out there, and a lot of kids were like, you need to like put more stuff out, and like it was just really cool, inspiring place for me. And so I kind of just like put my branding brain to it, and just for a few months just started thinking about like what do I want to represent, and like I try to stay positive. People always say I like am way more youthful than I look, or more sound than look, but just like they're like you got a young attitude, and like so I kind of like referencing like even with rock, like Abel Rock, it's kind of like a classic hip hop like addendum to the name, and so like
Yep.
Kid Capri was a huge influence, like
Oh
I
man.
do love Kid Koala too. I mean, it wasn't necessarily to reference them, but just like the idea of like staying young forever. Also, kind of the dark side of like trauma happening when I was young. So like like there's just like I just love the idea of like instead of just like kid name, it's like playing off kid forever, and it just felt like a
Oh.
vibe and like kind of my approach to life. Um, and yeah, it just felt right. I probably wrote down 100 names, and I was like, man, this one feels good, and like
Yeah.
yeah, just something I was excited about, like give a vision to, and I can think of projects with it, and like it just felt like, yeah. That's
Yeah.
basically it. Yeah.
And
Nope.
and probably feels good. Have you tagged it up? You like the feeling of yeah, that's
Yeah,
also part
I
of it
hit
too,
up. I
right? The
won't
way
tell
that it
you what it looks
writes.
like, but I hit up. I got a little symbol around here.
Oh, okay, yeah. No need. No, won't put you out on blast, man.
Yeah. We'll do that
That's
later.
great.
Yeah, I'm still active.
Oh, I love it, man. Well, hey, man, as a music fan that started way back in the 80s and still doing it today, how are you enjoying the current state of music or hip hop? Just are you enjoying the stuff that's coming out?
I think music's in a good spot generally. There's so much noise.
Yep.
I'm more like the labels are important to me. Not what kids are doing. So like, I mean, this might be a little hot take, but like, I think Atlanta and that sound has moved past hip hop, and I think it's kind of weird to drop it in with hip hop. But we've been using that term for so long generically, and
Yep.
I'm like super purist about it, and like almost like pre-recorded hip hop is the only real hip hop, and everything after that is just kind of rap, you know. And then
Interesting.
so to me, it's I think it's important. Like I think what they're doing at Atlanta is very new and different, and it's definitely got roots in it. But it's like,
Yeah.
you know,
Different
I
sound,
almost
huh?
feel like it's. I'm just really big on city, like especially in black music. Like black music has blessed all of us in this country, and so it's like
Yep.
the cities are where it's like so like Chicago had house and like Detroit had techno, New York's hip hop. So that's kind of where I see it from. Like every scene has kind of got its own sound. Like
Sure.
I love the underground and West Coast sound. Like that I
Oh,
still I
yeah.
Defari and the Beat Junkies and all those people like were huge influences, and it was like their own take on it too. But yeah, I think it's all good. It's just like I might be tired of the 808 hi hats a little bit, but like it's like yeah, it's like a different sound. So I don't hate on anybody, but I'm like kind of
Yeah.
a stickler. I'm like a nerd about music terms, but like if a kid plays me something that calls it hip hop, and I'm like, well, in my mind, it doesn't sound. That's not the same culture that I'm practicing, but it's all good. So there's
Yeah.
tons of great underground shit coming out too. Like I
Yeah.
just listened to the Benny the Butcher album, and like that was
Oh,
pretty great. I love Alchemist, so it's like that was
yeah.
fire, and like so there's always stuff. I just feel like it's harder than ever to like dig through the noise. But
Sure.
also you can discover, but everybody can make stuff. So like I'm more appreciative than not. I do miss this was another hot take. I was just listening to MOP. I love MOP, and
Oh, yes.
I miss the vocal protection of the culture through the MCs. Like that era was like, Guru was always talking about that. It was just like um yeah, like what I forget who was saying it on MOP, but it's just like MC's got to go through the fire before they get on the mic, and like it just seems like now you could just kind of like it's awesome because you can just practice doing things in public before you're really that thing, but there's not
Yeah.
that kind of like
The proving
proving
ground.
yourself until you get to a certain level. So I think that's probably my bigger hot take critique is just there's not that like battle tested
Yeah.
refinement. 10 years of not anybody knowing who you are until you can get
Yeah.
to the point where that's probably where I'd have a hot take is just like there needs
Yeah.
to be a
That's
little
interesting.
more
Yeah.
yeah
Yeah. Just because I mean, technology in general has made that super easy, right? In terms of
yeah.
folks trying to, make music from home and
I mean, we
not
got
have.
to, as hip hop fans, we got to remember like the old style
Yeah.
musicians were like, what is this fucking easy shit? You're just sampling music. Like, what the
Yeah.
fuck is this? So it's like, I'm not trying to be like that. It's just more about like definitions and like where things are. And
Oh, for sure. I remember selling tapes and going from show to show and just
yeah,
all that stuff. You don't have to do that nowadays. You can sell it online and
yeah,
we're trying to convince somebody to buy my CD and stuff. But it was
yeah,
good
yeah,
times, man. Yeah, I really
yeah.
enjoyed that time. Well, dope, man. Hey, well, with that, hey, this question goes into two parts because I know you spend your time in Indiana and Oregon, but what is the Indiana scene like in terms of music? Very enjoyable, or
Yeah, actually, we have a great general music scene. Like, I'm
okay,
actually, yeah, like Indy's kind of like doesn't have great curb appeal visually because we're in the middle of the country and it's flat. But like, we have great people here that I love that I'm sad to like leave. Like, I love the
yeah,
people here in the community, and yeah, the music scene's great and it's always getting better. There's lots of like we have indie music collective and there's like a cool. Uh, a lot of like spaces where you can like pay monthly, and then you have space to rehearse or write or
Oh,
like mic
fantastic.
booths. So those are popping up all over. There's a lot of
Nice.
kids more active. So like, yeah, I love it. The rock scene, the rap scene, like all that stuff is like going well. I'd say in the rap hip hop area, you know, we're kind of like, it's kind of like a mixture of America. Like we kind of
Sure.
have like a Memphis sound, a little Chicago. So it's kind of like a little more down south, a little tougher, um, a little more direct. Like, yeah, you know, it's kind of closer to the, yeah, that kind of like Southern kind of style
Okay.
mixed in with a little bit. But like I said, we have an awesome DJ scene here, Academics DJ
Nice.
School. So there's definitely like, we have
Awesome.
soul nights around. So there's definitely like a hip hop scene, hip hop nights. Um, yeah, it's just we're spread. It's a sprawling, wide city in a
Yeah.
flat area. So it's like you can't just be like, oh, there's all the cool people hanging out. You kind of got to know where to go. But once you're inside, it's all, you know, it's all good. You're on. It's on. So
Yeah, and
um,
that reminds me too. You're a DJ and you're still quite active in
yeah,
doing
yeah.
doing sets around town and in Portland, right?
Yeah, oh, yeah. That was kind of my love in Portland. It's just so full of records. Everybody has every coffee. There's just people playing records everywhere. So it's just like I miss that. But yeah. I try to play wherever here. I love playing outside. Like that's a big part of the culture. Is just like playing records outside at an event. Like that to
Yeah.
me feels closer to like the original culture of just like jamming outside and people partying and like enjoying themselves. Like that's part of it for me. So like I love doing outside stuff. I live in the Harrison Center for the Arts, so there's like lots of events here that I
Okay.
get to DJ, like art events and just play stuff, and which is kind of nice because the record culture is not quite as like popped off here, like general public awareness. So it's still kind of like a novelty to people to
Yeah.
even see old records, which is
Oh,
fun
sure.
because I'm all about sharing. It's all about sharing the music and like share, like especially like young people come up and they're like, "What is this?" And it's like, "This is," you know, I love teaching kids about like VHS tapes and records,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's fun. So just anytime I can play good old music and expose people to good stuff, like I love that. Like, um, yeah, I'm probably like doing it once a couple of weeks here, which isn't enough for my
Okay.
heart, but it's like enough
Yeah,
to
to
get
still keep it
by.
going. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. Yeah, and so
yeah.
you are actually bringing vinyl and spinning vinyl, or are you doing through
Oh
Serato?
yeah.
Oh
I have
man,
nothing against digital. I do it
yeah.
sometimes too, but for my personal pleasure, pause. uh, uh, I just love it. Just like as a way to like people like love looking at the covers because I'm bringing like I mean I have like a menagerie. It's like you know old funk
The
records,
covers
like
are
classic
awesome
'90s
back in
hip
the
hop,
day.
Nigerian stuff, you know, German stuff, Japanese stuff, library records, just like a weird mix of
Yeah.
stuff. And like a lot, it's just, I'm not trying to play obscure stuff to be obscure. Like I play
Yeah.
stuff people know too, but I
That
really
you
like
like.
the
Yeah.
people. I let people look at my record, you know, unless they're drunk or something. Like I'm cool if people like, because it's more about exposure
Yeah,
to a thing that I love and not,
that's right.
you know, I'm not
Sharing.
going to let people know my top secret. I don't know. You can tell by attitude. Some people come up and they're like, you can tell they just
Oh,
want to like post it to
yep.
Instagram and like steal your cool, as my friend
Yeah.
said one time. But like if people are into the music and they're not just gonna like post it right away, I don't, you know, I don't care. Like people can look
Yeah.
at them and like I'm like, yeah, that was the song I was playing. It's this, blah blah. You know, I barf on them all the information and yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And you mentioned a couple times during this interview VHS, man. I'm curious in your collection, do you have a Betamax or a laser disc player?
Yeah, I do have a laser disc.
Dude.
I
Oh,
just
damn.
stored a I one of my it's a rare it's a the Wizard of Speed and Time, but it's like a rare laser disc that I just got and
Holy
um,
cow.
yeah, I usually lean towards things that I can record to. Like I got to be able to manipulate them or record to them. So I want to be able to manipulate the audio. Like
Yeah.
I have a DVD DJ deck. Like it's kind of the CDJ eras, but you can play DVDs to
Dude,
DJ.
that's
So I can like
crazy.
scratch. That's super fun, and I can fuck with the pitch.
I
Laser
didn't
just
even know
started
they
playing.
have. I didn't even know they had DVDJs, man. That's crazy.
It was rare because it was like CDJs were getting popular, and like that's a whole thing that I'm not happy about. But like they were like killing turntables, and then but there was like before computers could play back video files. It's
Oh,
crazy. Like it's crazy how much you can fuck with them, and um,
yeah.
Yeah, that trips
Oh,
people out. So. Yeah, like
yeah.
rare technology. I love it. Like weird old. Sorry, I'm just looking over at all the stuff.
No, that's fun. And so, hey, man, funny that you mentioned that. A couple years ago, I was digging at a Goodwill and I found an old school Casio guitar, right, for like
Yeah,
$10. Dude, I was
that's
stoked,
awesome.
man. Oh man,
Yeah,
so
man.
it's a nice
Yeah,
piece that I have in the room, man. Yeah.
yeah, man. I love that kind of stuff. Like, yeah, even going to Goodwill, if you don't find anything, you like see history of tech or history of music. Like,
Yeah.
just fun to, and all that stuff. Like as a graphic designer and designer, like I feel fortunate I have so many things that overlap with what I love because I can go to a record store and like I'm just getting history of design, you know, even
Yeah.
if I don't find anything. And
All
this thing with
right.
like the Casio guitar, it's like, oh, that's
Oh,
fucking sick. Like I love '80s shit, you know, like
yeah.
um,
I
super
picked
fun.
up a also a Kenwood tape deck too. I couldn't pass that up, but
Oh, dude, that's a score
yeah,
for sure. Yeah,
yeah,
Kenwood
that
tape.
was that was fun.
Those are more
But
rare. I wish I'd
oh,
picked more of that stuff up. It used to be more common. Like CRT, the old TVs, like
okay,
gamers want those. So I happen to have one from back in the day still. So.
nice. Oh man, so yeah, the art of digging is the best, man. Hey, so we talked about the Indiana scene. What about the Portland scene, man? You showed a lot of love to Portland. I noticed you still have the Pacers hat, so you're a true
Oh
Pacers
yeah.
fan first. Yeah, never the Trailblazers in this case, but Portland's a great
I
city.
was so impressed by the basketball love there. Like I was not expecting how big of a basketball scene they had. Like I go like I love watching Trailblazers. Like I don't think I call
Yeah,
them like my. I'm not gonna call
yeah,
anybody my second team,
right.
but like it's fun to go to their games and like yeah they're the I don't know. It's the community there is just like different than other places and different
Okay.
than here. It's like the whole city's kind of a community. So like, yeah, there's so many things. Like I'm real big on urban planning and transit. You know, I'm kind of a design nerd. So like, I really love how
Okay.
progressive they are in those areas and like want to be car free. You know, as much as I can and yeah, it's just records are like saturated in that town and it's just
Oh
like
man.
it just brings me life. The art, like it's just such a creative town. It just feels really comfy and like I feel
Yeah.
after a rough few years, it was like I need to go where I feel like excited about things and feel understood. And like people will like can you know you like say you're like I'm a chef that uses printmaking to like you know and people will be like oh and they'll like hook you up. So it's always just like creative
Nice.
people hooking each other up and like you know like you visited Specs like just
Yeah.
like that
Man.
record shop like meant the world to me during hard times and I met a
Okay.
lot of good dear friends there. So like yeah, there's just a lot of good love and like around the areas that really sing to my heart. Like it's just a lot of good stuff there. I don't hate Indy or anything. I grew
Yeah.
up here. I've lived here a long time and
Yeah.
I just adore Portland. It just like feels so good and
No, I can relate, man. I'm from California, and I just really enjoy the vibe in Hawaii. So I enjoy the culture out here. So
yeah,
yeah,
you've
it's
moved a
probably the
lot
same
too.
thing. Yeah, and so yeah, and I agree with you. Portland's scene is awesome, man. Like in the vicinity of Specs Record Shop, I think there were a couple other record shops tue, and just man, it's
Yeah.
great. His shop is awesome. You know, he's got all this vinyl, local musicians, and then just that table in the back where people are spinning, man. That was crazy. I love it. And he's got a nice display of technology on the side. I don't know if it still looks like that, but you know, I was out
Always,
there
yeah.
a year and a half ago, and so I'm headed back there at the end of the month, and I'm going to try to make a visit out there if my work schedule allows. But it's a real great place, man.
Yeah. Yeah, check out I love Specs and Little Axe are like my two favorites for different reasons. And
Yeah.
I mean, there's not really a shop there I don't go to. Like, I don't. There's nobody I'd like hate on, but like the Little Axe just is special to me because it was like they just have stuff that I never was exposed to other places, and just like it's a good vibe. And then
Okay.
Specs is just like that's how I want community to be. They really like it's kid friendly, so like families
Yeah.
can come in and just the like creating a space for a lot of places do this here, but I just love Specs the most. Like creating a place for like people that are just trying to DJ. There's so many people that have record collections and they never get to play stuff. So just creating a place
Yeah.
for like the average person to be a DJ and share their love. And so you just meet like-minded folks there. And yeah, it's just a cool little spot. A lot of places are like that in Portland. So
No, that's great, man. And I think I met one of your friends out there who was spinning the DJ Soul Woman, I believe is what she goes
yeah,
by.
that's
But
yeah,
yeah,
dear
it's
friend of mine.
amazing. Yeah, so that was great, man. The vibe was definitely good, and just just the energy, man. I just wanted to go back. So great. I look forward to it. And so with that, hey, do you recall how we met? how we were connected.
I think, well, it's kind of funny. I don't know if I think it was because you heard the red tape, right?
So now even before that. So
Really?
yeah. So hey, so oh maybe now that I don't know now. So I thought I was introduced to your music because you did the Pause One remix, the Kenny
Oh yeah,
Rock.
yeah, 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 yeah,
That's
yeah,
it,
yeah.
right?
During COVID, he was like doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then I went through all the remixes that were done using, I guess, his acapellas, and then I pinpointed on the one that you did, and I was looking
Yeah,
to
yeah.
just do music, and I was like, dude, let me reach out to this dude. He's
Yeah, I
sick.
appreciate that.
Yeah. So that okay, that I think that was the way I
That's
learned about
definitely
your
the way.
music.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, and I ended
The
up
reason I
recording
was
to that. Yeah.
the I kind of like I was talking about being inspired and encouraged by people to put more stuff out. Um, uh, I'm doing this series of color tapes slowly, and
Yeah.
uh, uh, yeah, it was just kind of like, my hope was like, I want to find like-minded people that just want to work together. So it's really cool that like, you saw that music, his tape and his remix stuff, and then we're able to like see the stuff and kind of like, yeah, or even just the energy of me trying to work on stuff and be not a hermit music producer and just kind of put
Yeah.
it out more is something that I'm trying to be better at. So it's just kind of cool that effort kind of led to meeting someone like you that I want to work with, and it's cool. Uh,
Yeah.
Came out of like, the energy putting, just being brave to put stuff out. And I appreciate him, Pause One, because he was like, it was just hard during the early COVID, and he was like
Right.
honoring musicians that had died and saying like, hey, dig through their collections to honor them. And I was like, oh, this is
Yeah.
really cool. And just a good exercise, like
Yeah.
just like especially Kenny Rogers one. Like
Right.
I don't listen to his
That,
music, and like
that's
so I
right.
like learned all about him, and like it was fun to like be like, oh, this cat is cooler than I thought, or whatever, or more interesting than I thought.
Yeah. That I think that was the initial appeal, right? I was like, oh, sampling Kenny Rogers is wild. And then I heard the beat, and I can't remember if I used the actual beat that you submitted for that mixtape, but something happened, and I recorded over it. And now it's online. I love the song, man. So that
Yeah,
was
yeah,
great. And then that took me into diving into your catalog, and as you mentioned, you were doing a series called Fun with Colors, and then you I know originally had planned for it to be a six tape series that started with Red, and then
yep.
you released the Red album in 2019. Was that your official release as a
Yeah, yeah,
producer?
yeah, yeah. And it's kind of like it was kind of like Orange is done. I'm just procrastinating on putting it out. Like I'm
Woo! Let's go.
yeah, yeah, it's been done a while. It's been whatever. We don't get that, but like, yeah, I'm always slow to move. I'm just not motivated. Like, I just literally do it. I make
Yeah.
music just for myself and like keep
Yeah.
my friends around. So like,
Okay.
so that's actually going back to your question about music today. I think it's cool that it's so easy because the era I grew up in, I was just kind of programmed like, oh, it's like record deal. You got to go to the big city. So I'm just like, I just accepted and was comfortable with like, I'm just doing this as a culture thing for my hobby and all that.
Yeah.
And then, so like, the ability to upload stuff and share it I was like, I got to take advantage of this. I can't, I got to be able to. So kind of like having the influence and inspiration from Portland, and then just kind of realizing like, oh, it's kind of silly to make stuff and just not put it out if you're doing it. So I'm still kind of working through that, breaking that habit. But yeah, the
Okay.
series is kind of a way for me to focus, like
Yeah.
focusing, because I'm always sampling vocals and all that stuff. So the colors kind of help me focus on a theme. It's like a simple device to focus on. I premiered Orange like a year ago in Portland at Specs, the video I
Oh
made. Yeah,
man.
so like it's just kind of sitting there. I just need to finish it. Yeah, yeah. I won't
No,
shame
that's
myself,
great.
but like, yeah, yeah.
No. Hey, man, like you said, man, you're doing it for yourself. Insane, man. I always got tied up with like trying to get a release like once every couple months, but now, man, I'm good where I'm at. Like when I get it
Yeah,
out, I
dude,
put it
salute.
out.
You're like prolific, dude. I'm inspired by you, dude. Like,
Oh, thanks, man. Not as much as I want to be, but thank you, man. Just hey, man, all the energy from you guys so continues to motivate me. And so yeah, I enjoyed the red tape, and you did it in mixed style fashion, right? So it wasn't like six tracks. It was just I think it was one continuous mix of beats, right? Which I really enjoyed,
yeah,
man. You just
yeah.
play
It was
that
like
thing and
one
vibe out.
file. It was like one giant file too. I just fucking like was just slamming samples in, uh, and just like, yeah, it's one big Ableton file. It's just like it's kind of like I'm always like, I'll make 10 beats and be like, and then I'll get one that kind of feels right. And that kind of sets the standard. And then I'm trying to like kind of keep
Got
that
it.
energy or whatever going, and like not caring as much about like sound quality as much as like the vibe and like the
Yeah.
feeling. And like I'm
Oh,
not real big. Yeah, that Public Enemy era is like it wasn't so much about like crazy high fidelity mixing. It was kind of like about these like
good point.
sound clashes, sound collage. So, and I'm kind of trying to focus on that, like getting a little more refined each step. And then, but yeah, it was just like one long mixtape, just like everything blends together, just made them all in context.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's super fun. It's a lot of work, like finding the video
I bet.
samples, the audio, the red samples, and then just the music samples. It's a lot of digging, which is fun.
Yeah, hey man, no, but it was a great project, and that kind of fueled me to reach out and even continue to work with you even more, man. After that one song, and
Yeah,
I'm a proud owner of the red tape too, man. Heck yeah!
yeah,
So
man.
I'm glad I have that, and I look forward to Orange. But with that, you had that the color theme going on, so Orange maybe sometime this year. But we put out a record together as a result of me checking out Red, and we put out Track Record in 2022, so
Yep.
closer to the end of the year. But what a fun project, man! Can you talk to them about the concept of the cover as you were putting it together? Why we called it? Do you recall?
The track record.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like going back to like I grew up literally hearing race cars my whole life, like all year long at the race time. Yeah, it's just like part of me. Like my family we weren't into racing, but you just can't help but like you're in
Yeah.
Indianapolis by
Indy. Yeah.
less than a mile from the track. Like I'm really proud of that. Like I mean it's a
Me too.
I'm proud of that. So yeah, it was just kind of like playing off the idea of like Indiana, California,
Yep.
you know, uh, the guy on the cover, the picture we used, like had connections to NorCal,
That's
but also
crazy.
like raced at Indy, so that was fun. And then just like trying to just make this kind of fun, clever connection. And
Oh, that was
yeah, it's
fantastic.
yeah,
Yeah, we talked about that, trying to draw a connection and somehow get our California Indiana roots into it. And you took it a step further, man. You had to play on colors. Pacer blue, Pacer yellow, or Golden State blue,
yeah, totally,
Golden
yeah.
State. Yeah. So man, it just the cover makes sense. It's that was
Yeah, and
dope.
the cool tape case you picked out
Ah,
was sick. And yeah, and
yeah,
I just want to take the time to thank you because it kind of keeps giving me motivation and just reminding me like it's a good thing to put music out and like working with people is what it's all about. So it's just
yeah,
like little kernels, little carrots of like, hey, keep doing this. That's kind of one of the reasons I'm wanting to go back to Portland because it's just I feel more
yeah,
motivated creatively there, just inspired, and like it's just kind of like easier to kind of like get that flow going
yeah.
and the stuff that I care about the most. So, because I just want to I just want to keep doing it and playing my records, making music. They have like a great like just like it's not a battle community, but a lot of pop up beat maker pop ups, like
Oh, that's dope.
showcases, and like there's just the more like the music scene here is great, but it's not quite in the pockets where I'm really at. So it's like that's one of the reasons. Like it's a there's so many great promoters here and there's so much great
Yeah.
stuff, but like in my little world it's like Portland's a little got that going a little more. Just the combination, like there's lots of beat makers here, but just the vinyl, it's just the combination is just like
Yeah.
so. Yeah,
Well, man, hey, I was really proud to put that project out with you, and that was
likewise.
really fun. And same thing, man. I just love the old school VHS cover that we used, and
Yeah.
yeah, just the product in general was super dope. And shout out to Specs for throwing it out there and carrying it in the store, man. That was awesome. But yeah, we do have a nice follow up, and so we'll have to come up with an even more clever explanation for the next cover, man. Because that first one, I just was really like, oh, that's great, man. The
Yeah, do you
story
want to
behind
talk
the
about it
cover.
at all? You mentioned maybe you wanted to speak on it. Like, do you want to
Yeah,
tease it
let's
a
do
little?
it, man. Yeah, absolutely, man. So, we got another project that we're working on. And so I know we originally started talking about, finding some sort of anime theme to it. And like you mentioned earlier in the interview, you were pulling a lot of stuff from Japan and using that to sample. So, has everything that you sampled with the pack of beats that you sent me from VHS tapes out of Japan?
It's all from record. All these
Woo!
vinyl, like the top two cubes up there are all anime records. So,
That's it, man.
yeah, the drum breaks are more like that's probably where I cheat more. I'll use my
That's
older
okay.
drum break
Yeah.
records, but like, um, but yeah, all the main the main samples, like the structures of the song, all come from anime. I think it's
Sick.
funny because like, yeah, it's like I'm kind of like, oh, I am kind of looking for stuff that I'd be attracted to on soul records, but I am getting stuff that's like late. I like the anime stuff because like the late 70s, early 80s was still kind of using that like funk soul soundtrack, you know, kind of like Chips or like Rockford Files or whatever, that kind of like, and that's what I love. So then it's like, oh yeah, like what would be a little more like anime-ish.
Yeah.
So I've definitely got some like cheesier younger kid music that I think I'm gonna play with. But yeah, I really want to
Yes.
like thematically, visually, and then I think for me, like I really just want to put out vinyl for the first time. So I really want
Okay.
to focus on the quality and like make sure it's, yeah, just like kind of step up the quality that so a mixing mastering person can make it like really shine on vinyl and like kind of thinking of it that way. But yeah, the
Okay.
concepts will be cool with like visuals off of what you write.
Yeah.
Um,
I can't wait for the cover too on this project. Just I think I'd like to, if you're cool with it, just stick with the anime theme for the cover.
oh yeah, I want to animate it out. Like we'll keep pushing it until we find the right pocket. But yeah, that's all. That's what I want to do. I love the visuals. Like grew up, yeah, lots. I don't know. I feel fortunate. Like lots of young girlfriends were into anime. Like I don't even know how they were into it in the 90s and 80s, but like
Yeah.
yeah, lots of young little alternative anime girlfriends and like yeah, that whole, I just love film and art and all that stuff. So it's not even just anime, but it's just like I love uh classic fantastic art of any kind. And like, you know, obviously anime is, you know, I love sci-fi, so it's got all the stuff I love.
Oh man, yeah, I can't wait to get into it, man. So 2024, we're aiming for that, and
Yeah,
yeah, man, let's shoot for vinyl. That'd be great, dude. Woo.
yeah, I mean,
Well, hey, man, it's clear to me that you don't do music for recognition. You do it purely out of the love, right? So, well, what continues to fuel you in terms of motivating you to do music? What keeps you inspired?
yeah, I mean, I think the you know, I won't get into it too deep, but the last 4 years have been some of the hardest years of my life, and it was just like kind of that thing people say where it's like, you know, just the thing that you love really comes up and up for you, and like, or that doesn't make sense. Like it becomes even more important to you when you're like kind of like struggling through stuff. So like even Specs comes around to that, where it's just like I'm going through some stuff and I needed people, and it was like really great to have a music community that like, you know, kind of like it was just awesome. So that's like a big thing. It's just kind of like just realizing how much more music affects my mood and like affects my heart and like can really like, help a bad day be not as bad, and like um so that's kind of like the deep personal reason. And
Okay.
then I love time traveling, man. Like I just love like it's just the best. Like
Yeah.
just finding it's a drug, dude. There's like I'm like giddy if I find like, especially if I find a drum break where I'm not
Woo.
expecting it, like I haven't heard. I'm like it's just like, yeah, it's amazing. So
Oh
beautiful
yeah.
art on the records, just like yeah, just hearing stuff. And then just that, I guess it's, you know, it's fun to like, sampling's fun because you're like getting even more into the music and listening and paying attention and kind of rethinking it and just like play, you know, even when you just load it first up and you do like simple quarter chops and you're just understanding it in a really cool way. Feels super futuristic still. And like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just, I just feel fortunate. Like I just thank all the people that created all this stuff, from the people in Japan that made the technology to the cats in New York, like
Man.
the people that like figured out, like that turned these tools into like that turned recorded audio into. I'm blown away by recorded audio, and then the fact that we can manipulate it is
Yeah.
I just feels so futuristic. So it's just like
No.
microscopically, you know, yeah, figuring out, just getting inside the music. I really love it. And then the layering stuff, like I just
Oh
love, like even just the
yeah.
mix between songs, like
That's a great point.
I miss the mixtapes, like that weird magic that happens when it's like two
Yep.
songs that like I
Just
just
that
fucking love it.
mix.
Yeah, I fucking love the mix. So
Oh man.
just anything DJ culture and sampling, I'm just, yeah, it's just, I think it's the coolest stuff. And I love seeing what the kids are doing, like with their, like I think JPEG Mafia is like somebody that's like
Oh.
connecting to, he's super new school, but like it's like the internet. It's like internet rap where it's like very chaotic and a lot more like even more ADHD and like just lots of stuff
Okay, I
rapping. And
gotta
it just
check him
has
out.
this. Yeah, it's like super. I think he's West Coast. I can't remember where he's from, but like
Okay.
it just feels like taking what was happening and now applying to like new school kind of like the internet and the sound. And they listen to so much more than we ever could back in the day. They're just hearing more. So instead of taking that and making generic stuff, it's kind of like creating this like hyper pop, hyper sample, hyper soundscape, crazy trap rap, it feels
So
like I don't think he's trying to be intellectual, but it feels like a
yeah,
kind of intellectual progression of the form of sampling instead of just like
nice.
808, 808.
Yeah, hey, I'll have to check him out. You said JPEG Mafia, right?
Yeah, yeah, not a great name. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Oh, it is, man.
I think he's cool with like Danny Brown and people like that, like kind of like.
Oh man. Well, hey man, if you were asked to summarize or describe your style of music making or your music in general, what would you say?
It's all collage. It's all like sound
Mhm.
collage and mixing. I was thinking about this the other day because I feel like for me, I'm in between the pure record looping and micro chopping. So I'm kind of
Okay.
like in between that technology is like a technical explanation. Um, but it's all about sound collage and like I love I have nothing against digital sampling. I do that too, but like I love
Yeah.
the extra texture. Like they're all records are artifacts. Like digital files, it's always the same, which nothing wrong with that. But like I love the unique qualities of like whatever I have, like the tapes
Okay.
or the VHS stuff. So it's like sound collage, which I've heard. I mean,
Nice.
it's not like a genius thing, but like just the idea of like taking these different techniques of recording, different times periods, and then collaging them to create like this new vibe. Like
Hey.
that's modern music to me. Like right, like
Yeah.
it's like there you can compose notes. Like to me, it's like the more you compose, the less hip hop it is. Like hip
Yeah.
hop is like it's like almost anti music in a way or anti classic. It's like anti original playing it live and like composing it. You're like
Yeah.
yeah.
Hey, well said, man. I really like that explanation, man. Well, with that, hey, man, what does Kid Forever like to do outside of making music and art? What are your hobbies?
Man, I love people, so I love like hanging with a friend. You know, blazing most of the time.
I
But
love
that's
it.
not really a hobby. It's just, but yeah, just like chilling with friends, like going to get ramen. I love pho and ramen. Like that's what I just want. Like if
Hey.
I could eat pho, you know. So like just enjoying good food. Pretty simple. My happy place is being out, like not in the streets, but I love being in cities like New York and
Yep.
Portland and other places, San Francisco, all these places that like have good transit and just seeing people, being at the park, so I just love being outside, but just like, walking, public transit, skateboarding. I love skating. So like, I'm old and like not as pliable as I was, but like, yeah, just kind of like staying active outside as much as I can. I'm definitely like a hermit by nature, but I also, as I've gotten older, realize how much I need people. And like, especially with COVID era, it was like really
Yeah,
weird to, you just need good people, good friends. So I'm just
I
like,
agree.
I love like you know supporting people and like having good heart to hearts and like just being real with people. That kind of stuff is kind of my hobbies, I guess. Like
Oh,
hanging outside in cities and looking at graffiti and like being with a couple of good friends, like going to a good show, going to like see
yeah,
DJs, music stuff, like
that is
yeah,
fun.
food, music, and people, like the
Yeah.
classics.
Hey, you said you get some love for the Japanese ramen and the Vietnamese food. You got some Filipino food in your diet too, or what?
Not as much because like yeah, because I mean, I definitely was eating pho here before I left, but like
Okay,
the West Coast just has more of an Asian influence than
that's right.
Indiana
Yeah,
does. But like, it's not even close. It's like not even close. So like,
that's right.
um, yeah, I love. Yeah, yeah. I gotta like. I should try to like.
Should put you on the spot.
You should school me. No, no. I
Yeah.
want to. Yeah, because I'm trying to think which like definitely Thai, Vietnamese, Japanese, like Chinese in a way, but like probably
Hey,
not very authentic. Um,
I'll have to find a place when I go to Portland at the end of the month.
yeah, or like I'd even like I mean, that's what's I'm excited to explore an area of the country that I don't know much about. Like I love the
Yeah.
Pacific Northwest, but like
Yep.
yeah, yeah, it was just I got like the food scene in Portland is amazing. Like the whole
Yeah.
West Coast
Oh
is
my
high
gosh.
quality. So like yeah, I'm always learning. One thing I have a good
Same.
friend out there that like designs restaurants for some of the best places.
Hey,
So I
sick.
get like back behind the scenes chef. It's like a world that I'm not really like I'm not a foodster or whatever like
Okay.
or a foodie, but like the yeah, getting exposed to that kind of stuff. It's like I like craft, any craft that people really care
Right.
about. Like I love it. So
Yeah.
um,
Hey, and so and that same thing, man. And I love educating myself about other places too. And so, when I was looking up Indiana, I read something about a Hoosier sandwich and a Hoosier sugar cream pie. Is that
yeah, yeah.
are those? Yeah, yeah. Hey, tell me what that is, man, and tell me if you love those things.
Yeah, yeah, I like them enough. My dad is like, my dad loves those pork tenderloins. So yeah, we're kind of
Woo!
known more and more, but it's just kind of one of those things that we've always had. But then it's like, oh, we're the ones that do this. But like, yeah, these
Yeah.
big other places have them, but we just do these crazy big as your head ones, like hand like breaded hand tenderloins,
Yeah.
and they're just really
Oh my God.
simple.
That sounds
We're
amazing.
really this area of the country, and especially India, it's like super simple. They value um, keeping things inexpensive. They
Yeah.
value like not being flashy. Like Reggie Miller and Peyton Manning, people that are loyal, people that work hard. Just like that's the values here.
Okay.
So you don't get as much extreme
The
cultural
Flash.
things from anywhere. Yeah, because it's even like everybody here. It's kind of like yeah, yeah, like less flashy and more prideful. So it's like simple things like the pork tenderloin and the
Yeah.
sugar cream pie.
Woo!
It's very Americana in a way, like
Yeah.
blue collar. Our industry didn't blow up as like much as like St. Louis or Detroit or even Cincinnati. Definitely not Chicago. So it's just kind of like a humble working class place, like but really loving people. Um, Definitely not as like hateful or anything like that as some people might think. Like it's
Yeah.
definitely the city and the region around here is very diverse and like
Yep.
I mean in some ways there's obviously other pockets it's not, but like very loving and good place, a good people. Yeah, it's just the curb appeal because we don't have mountains or oceans and it's flat and like
Yep.
it's not the richest place. So but yeah, I'm went on a tangent on that, but like yeah, those pork tenderloins, just
Woo! Man.
pickles, mustard, onions, and this giant like
Uh,
foot wide pork tenderloin on a bun.
oh,
They're
it
good. Yeah, we
sounds
love
amazing.
chili, casserole. It's like
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. It's like Midwest staples of like
Yeah.
a lot of it's whack, but you get the good stuff and it's fucking super good.
Yeah, at some point I'm gonna retire and just not work and just take a car and drive all over the United States and be a Hoosier sandwich man. That's on my list.
Yeah, dude. There's like it's yeah, fried chicken. We love fried chicken here. I'm just trying like just staples of like just normal, simple American food. Driving. I totally think you should do that. Like driving across the country was eye opening. Like so
Yeah,
different. I mean,
I
even
know.
just like 60 miles west is different. And you get to like
Great
it's
point.
the country's crazy. It was mind blowing.
Yeah, that's good. That's definitely on the list, man. And so with that, hey, for folks that don't know, define to me what a Hoosier is.
Man, it's so like so
I've
people
seen a
like think
couple
it's not.
definitions.
Yeah, so I'll have to send you a paper after this, but it literally comes from a black family and a black crew, and this man John Hoosier that was like I think he was a traveling like not a handyman, but like back in the day when you didn't have as many people, but he was kind of like a guy that helped people out and worked, and
Hmm.
that's where it came from. And then it just kind of like got lost to time, because it wasn't like a huge thing because the state was like not a state for a while, and like it's part of that like Western expand, Western. I
Yeah.
don't want to get yeah, Western destruction, but yeah, it's like it's the name of the basketball team. There's all these
Yeah.
theories, but I was just like years ago, I was like, man, what is this? And then like, yeah, this IU teacher did this exhaustive like
Oh,
deep
okay.
dive, and it's out there. But I think it's also fun. It's like my mom's from North Carolina. They don't know what
Okay.
Tar Heel is either. So I just think one of
Oh,
those
right.
things where it's like the
Yeah.
truth's out there, but it's just not very like. I don't
Yeah,
think it was
that's
nefarious
fine.
because he was black, but I think it's just because it was like it just wasn't a huge story, and it just kind of grew through time,
Yeah.
and it was just there, and people just didn't know where it came from. So People say like, who's there? Who's there? Or like, who's your mama? Like that's the song. Who's your mama? Like,
the comment story I saw was that it was a gentleman who that was his last name, and so I think he was hiring people for work, and his tendency was to hire folks from Indiana. Was one of the stories I saw, but quite interesting.
Yeah, that's part of it. Yeah.
So very cool.
Yeah.
Man,
It's funny. I didn't realize a friend of mine from St. Louis moved here, and she was like, "It's crazy to me because it's kind of a slur to call people Hoosiers. Like it's kind of like it's kind of like yokel white trash, phrases like that where it's meaner. Like it's not. It's it's kind of a diss for them." And I was like, "That's hilarious! Like that's so hilarious. Just like a state over. It's like a bad word."
So that's funny. So I did see that too, man. That was interesting, and that's why I was like, let me ask him because I couldn't find a pinpoint definition for it. So that's great.
Yeah, I claim Indianapolis more than Indiana, but it's not like I'm against Indiana. But like Indianapolis is like the culture that raised me because the state's very rural. It's very you got Gary, Fort Wayne, South Bend, and Bloomington. Couple other towns in Indy, but like Indy's the only thing that's like really kind of close to being urban and like has more of the urban values. So it's like I claim the racetrack and like hip hop. Hip hop we're all about where the city we're from. So it's like that's what I really claim because you go 30 minutes south or 30 minutes north and it's a different world. And they're both I really feel like Indy is the border of the north and south because if you live south, like I might have a twang to some people, but if you go south, it's twang. It's like Kentucky country. You go north, you're getting up into the Chicago kind of like northern America, kind of that like more nasally Chicago-y sounding.
Okay.
It's wild. Yeah, it's wild. Like just literally the other side of the county. Like you'll sound like a country guy, or you'll sound more like a northern American kind of Minneapolis kind of guy.
Wow, I have to go see it for myself, man.
The Crossroads of America. That's one of our nicknames.
I love it, man. I'll be there someday. Well, with that, let's get into the silly portion of the interview. I got 2 silly questions for you, and then we'll jump and close this amazing interview out, man. Help me solve some debates between me and my wife, man. Your choice between Target or Walmart, and why?
Oh, Target. Yeah, Target.
Oh, wait, why? Oh, man, my wife.
Dude, I never went to Walmart ever. Like, we didn't even have those. Like, it's crazy to me because I'm old enough. Like, I remember before Target was how it is now, and it was like Kmart, and it was not Target. It wasn't bougie. I just don't have any connection to Walmart. Like I go in there and it's like I went to Sam's Club or like Kohl's more than I'd probably say Kohl's over Target. That's probably more than we had the Speedway shopping center with the Kohl's, so like that's where my mom bought all my clothes when I was a little kid. Generic, just kind of like. But yeah, I'd probably say Target because I don't know, like.
History, right? Yeah, I lost that one. Okay, she wins. All right. Hey, second question. Which store has the best clothes, Ross or Marshall's?
Oh, that's a good one. I think I'd say Marshall's just because I know.
Okay, same. She's a Marshall's gal. I have an affinity for Ross because I work there.
Yeah.
Okay, that's hilarious, man. All right. Well, with that, hey, tell me about any special projects you have coming up. So you mentioned you got Orange in the Shooter, and then you got the project that me and you have just started. Anything else that you want to mention?
Yeah, another thing to like try to just be a little more output is I want to start just doing like little, basically like digital 45s, like basically just like 2 songs.
Cool.
Just like to experiment, like because I do other stuff where I'm like, using. Like I'm playing stuff and doing kind of like more compositional stuff, groovy, but like playing with other sounds and just releasing things that are kind of one-offs instead of like thinking in the big project sense of view. Cause like, I'm a perfectionist and I kind of like want to be more quick with it and rapid fire. So that's kind of something. I've got a few of those that I'm working on.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm always like stacking stuff. Like I've always got stuff, and then I just kind of move on and forget. So I'm trying to be like, hey, this is worth putting out. Like people have told you they want to hear it.
Yeah.
Just trying to get into that habit and like trying to, like I'm doing good.
Awesome. Hey, you absolutely are, man. I love the stuff that you've been sending me. So with that, I'm very excited just to see what 2024 has for you. A lot of good stuff coming, and as you mentioned, a lot of good projects that I'm waiting for you to release. But with that, man, it's been an honor to get into your story. Thank you for making time on the weekend.
Yeah, man.
tell me about the background of Kid Forever. Again, I'm a fan of your music, all the way back
Oh,
to
likewise.
yeah, to the Kenny
I'm a fan of
Rogers
your
on
soul,
mixtape.
man. I'm a fan of your heart, dude.
Oh man, likewise, man. So the energy is good, and I love that, man. I love making music with people that just have good energy. So thank you for being a dope person. And
Yeah,
with that, anybody you want to shout out before we close this amazing interview?
yeah, man. I want to shout out Top Speed just because like just he doesn't get enough recognition, and he's just influenced so much hip hop culture here, and like
Oh,
so just like shout out to that dude. And then there's another one, but like there's Jerry Wade was like another big influence. He just passed away here in Indy, but he was like the local Quiet Storm host. So like listening to
wow.
him, like that was like another big thing I should have said, but like listening to him on the radio when I was a little kid, that's where I learned about soul music and R&B late at night, and was just like a little kid listening to grown folk talk about like Barry White and shit. So like those two dudes are like
Oh,
big heroes. And then like, man, yeah, I want to shout out DJ Soul Woman Wendy,
yeah.
Specs Records. Let's see. Lately, Kristen and Amy. Yeah, there's a lot of people that have just helped my heart heal over the last 4 years. And like, I'm
Awesome.
starting, I feel good. And shout out to you.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, shout out to my parents. My parents have been helping me a lot. I can
Hey,
go on
man.
and on. Yeah, man. Thanks for
Awesome.
like. I really appreciate like
Yeah.
getting to think about my life in this way. I've never really gotten to like kind of think about it or even like reflect on myself that way. So I really appreciate you kind of letting me go down memory lane and kind of like think
Yeah.
about stuff. It's fun super fun.
Yeah, that was, man. Everybody's got a dope story, man. And so I really enjoyed that time that I spent with you doing this, man. Thank you.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you.
Yeah. Well, with that, man, hey, what is the best place for folks to listen to your music? Where do you want them going if they want to listen to
Yeah,
Kid Forever music?
yeah, I'm still trying to be on Bandcamp, and then like my Instagram is my only social media. Like I'm trying to just like be in one
Oh,
place and like not get the noise. Everybody knows how it is these days, but like that's
yep.
Instagram will probably be always where my links will be. But like Bandcamp, I should probably look that up real quick. But I think it's just bandcamp.com Kid Forever. But
Okay.
yeah, my logo is red and white with like an infinity symbol. Yeah. It's Kid Forever, all no spaces on Instagram. So that's usually if you just Google Kid Forever, that's where it'll come up. And yeah, just trying to make sure that I might just start doing clothing with it. I'm not sure. I got a lot of ideas.
Oh, interesting. Oh, I look forward to that too, man. Well, hey, man, thank you again. I appreciate it, and I can't wait to get this interview out, man. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Yeah, thanks, brother.
Okay.